Welcome, welcome back to a mini episode of the Authentic Man podcast. I'm your host, David Chambers, and today I'm going to talk about something I saw on my Instagram. I saw in the newspapers that some people in the States are suing um, some of the dating apps. I think it's Tinder. Um, I can't remember. There's Tinder and some of the other Match.com ones, right? For deliberately making them into gamifying them and so forth. And I think this is interesting in many ways. In that, I don't think they're going to win their case at all, because. But I think it's more about raising awareness. They're wanting to make a statement, right, about dating apps. And I'm just off the back of almost finishing running a dating program for men. It's been a 5-week program, and I did one session. There's been six sessions over 5 weeks, and one of them is about dating apps. I had someone come in and do that. A wonderful woman, Erica, who did a podcast episode talking about dating apps. And the rest of it's been about things like tackling fear, negative beliefs, communication, as well as our emotional regulation and how we express ourselves, and then also leadership, and just taking general Q&A from the men. And what I'll say is that it's really easy to blame dating apps for the state of dating, but really we have to look at ourselves. Like, how are we being in dating? Like, dating apps have this habit of actually making us worse human beings. Not because they make us, the apps don't do it. It's because we're now detached from the other human being. We don't have to stand in front of another human being and say the things we want to say. It's a bit like keyboard warriors, keyboard jockeys, right? People will say the most disgusting things to people on the internet that they would never dare say in front of another human being. And we've never had this before in society, really. Like, I guess we have like TV, but it's never been that you can be so faceless. So what's occurring is that human beings are just, it's bad behavior. The apps are there as a shop window, as a entry point, right, into dating. They are not the only entry point. If you believe that online dating is the only way you can meet people, you're completely wrong. Like, the statistics say that a good proportion of people who are meeting each other are meeting through dating apps. That is true. But, loads of my clients, I'm running the dating program, and there's a guy in there. Well, how did he meet someone? Through friends of a friends. There's guys meeting people. They were out for a drink with some friends, and they got talking to another group of people, or they went to events. They, that there's so many other ways to meet people now. And if we just stick to dating apps, and we're really limiting ourselves, right? I know someone who goes to supper clubs, like even, me and also got an event that I'm running next week, which is not strictly a dating event, but it's about connection and how we can connect better. So dating apps are a shop window, and we can start to use them more responsibly. We can start to use them better, because ultimately the problem with dating apps is they allow us to be lazy. They allow us to be lazy because it's easy, it's comfortable, and it's lazy, right? In the moment laziness. So I can just not really do any work. I can just show up and wake up in my bed, scroll. I can then tap on a few people, swipe left on a few people, swipe right on a few people, and I feel like I've done something, right? I feel like I'm in the game of dating, but really it's just lazy, right? And it's because there's low barrier to entry. Everyone is a low effort exercise, so everyone's low effort, right? And trying to get big rewards. Whereas really, as humans, we are wired. And I did a panel talk with someone, and she's a researcher from Love, and I've mentioned it a few times in this last week because what she said was really interesting. It's like, we're wired, and I know this. We're wired to be face to face with people, to smell them, to see them move, to feel them. Our human bodies are wired to feel each other. So in the world of dating apps, we've cut off from feeling, we've cut off from sensing people, and we've become superficial with photos and a few words, right? And this is one of the reasons why we should get to try and meet people as quickly as possible in dating apps. Like, I'm a really advocate of, you can text back and forth for a week or so, right? But ultimately, you're not going to get to know someone via text messages, right? Yeah, you can have a few phone calls to get to know someone a little bit, but really, as human beings, we get to know people by being in front of them. I'm a big advocate for that when I work with men. I always stop them from just using dating apps as the only way to meet people. Always getting them into spaces where they can meet people of a like mind who are interested in the things they're interested in. So it's the second thing that I think that's come out of dating apps as well, is that like we have this perception, this has always existed, we have this perception that the grass is greener. Like if I can meet just one more person, then I'm going to meet someone better than the last person. And this is bullshit, because what it creates is this endless searching of better. Oh, if I'm, the person I dated last week, they were really nice, but if I can meet someone who has this attribute and this thing, then it's better, then I can meet someone better. And I'd say that it just doesn't work. Like ultimately, and I can say this with someone who lived like this for a long time, who believed that, I could just meet someone better, someone more suitable, then I'd be okay. And the grass will always be greener. And it's endless. You can do this into your 50s and 60s. And, I'm glad I came across a coach. He wasn't coaching me in dating, but he coached me a life coach. And it really helped me see that like I was always looking for something else. I was always like holding the stick with the carrot at the end. Because if we're continually thinking the grass is greener, right, we're looking for new and novel instead of what is in front of us and what's good and what's stable. And I think we, as daters, have to realize that like often the new and novel isn't going to be better, right? You want to find someone who is willing to show up and create a relationship, because you can always find someone better. I remember me and my friend AJ, who used to do the podcast with me, we used to always say this: you can always find a hot woman, always, as a man, right? Not saying you can actually, date her and so forth, but you can always look around and say, oh, there's a hotter woman out there than the one that's with you. And if you're always looking outward in that way, you're always going to be searching, constantly looking, instead of going, I have what I have and I can make this beautiful, right? It's like you buy a house and you're constantly thinking, I could buy a better house, I can buy another house, I could buy a bigger house. And then you move into that house and you're like, I could buy a better house, I could buy a bigger house, I can buy a nicer house. And it's endless. You could do this for the rest of your life. Instead of buying a house and going, I like this house, and making the house the best house you can make it, right? Because that's what really relationships about. And I can, as someone who's been in a relationship for 4.5 years now, I can really see that the key is like being like, I'm in this and I'm committed to this. I'm going to keep making it better. And I guess the issue with dating apps is that we're always one app away from swiping for someone else. You can always think that, I'm not enjoying this relationship I'm in, I could just find something better. But it's an endless pursuit. And it's to start to look at, it's not the dating app's fault, it's your own level of like emotional maturity and responsibility, and not looking at the underlying belief systems and even wounding that's happening. That has it that you always think you need to have something better? Is it that you need the world to think you're a better man if you have a better looking woman, and so forth? It's a really key piece. It's like we can just stop and go, okay, I'm in this relationship, this is good, and I can make it better. You have the power to make it better. Finding someone better doesn't always lead to a better relationship, right? And I think this is one of the things with dating apps. It does give you this illusion. I'm not to say the illusion wasn't there before, because I think for many of us, we've experienced that. As someone who dated before dating apps, I still had the illusion that I could meet someone better if I went out more. But it's there, right? But we can't blame, if we keep blaming the dating apps, we're not being responsible for our own behavior, our own mindset, our own beliefs, our own wounding, and doing the work around that. And I see this with men that come to me, they think it's a dating apps, and then when we get into the work, they start to see like, oh shit, I haven't been acting in alignment with what I want to be, or I haven't noticed I've been reacting emotionally. When I say reacting emotionally, is like doing things are out of character when certain emotions are present, and then sabotaging or ruining the relationship they're in, or sabotaging and ruining the dating, people they're dating, the situations they're in, because they're just unaware. They're not aware of what's happening, and then they can point the finger and blame someone else. But really, the responsibility lies with us. So, suing a dating app isn't going to help you. It's tackling why you think that, the grass is always greener, because it isn't always greener. And then the other thing I think we negate is that with dating apps, is that because we're not in front of people, and this is a digital age thing, it's not necessarily a dating app thing, because we're not in front of people as much, we're actually not learning to socialize better. We're not, if you've been single for a long time, right, and you struggle to get into a relationship, you have to take the responsibility to see that it's somewhere that your level and ability of socializing, connecting with other human beings is not as good as you want it to be, right? It's not working for you, right? And you have to do something about it. Dating apps won't help you because it will just put you in front of more people. But the next piece, which is like deepening connection, creating fun and enjoyable moments together, right? That's your responsibility. Dating apps can't help you with that, right? If you're not good at that, dating apps won't help you with that. And when I say not good, like, I'm not talking it's a binary thing. You might be an amazing man who makes great money and generally you're making friends and blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to dating, there's just something that doesn't quite go right. There's just something that has it that you don't quite attract the women you want. And that's the thing that's not working. And that's what it is. It's the socializing piece, it's the connecting piece, because there's an art to it. And I say art, it's not a system, it's an art. There's a way in which we can be more deeply present, feel people, respond to people instead of reacting to people and what they're saying, and being with them in a different way, that we create attraction, we create joy, we create fun, we create depth, right? While simultaneously observing our own fears coming up, right? And not just following along with those. So there's a big piece here, you know, you have to be responsible. It's not the dating apps. I keep saying this, they exist and they're not perfect. But if someone created a dating app tomorrow that would really help people with creating longer term relationships, you wouldn't want to use it, because it wouldn't be as easy and lazy as the ones we have now. So my advice is to get off the dating apps, and not get off completely, but stop having it be your sole way of meeting people. Start branching out, meeting people in the daytime in coffee shops, like actually asking out the girl or guy you see you've been talking to, or someone you're interested in. Actually make those moves to meet people, because it goes such a long way now. I see with my clients, like, talk to you 15 years ago, you had to approach a woman in a coffee shop or in a bar. It was difficult. And actually, my clients are seeing now it's way, way easier. People are far more responsive. Women and men are far more responsive to having a conversation because they're tired of the dating apps. But you have to face the fear that comes with doing that. And I think that's what dating apps take away from us. We stops us from taking the action to overcome our fears and so forth. So if that's something I want help with, I've got programs and I've got one-to-one coaching. I do work with people to do that, because it doesn't just affect our dating, it goes into our personal lives where we feel scared, we don't have that we don't ask for that meeting, we don't approach that client, right? Because we don't want to be rejected, we don't want to be humiliated, or we're scared of success even. But enough today. Don't sue the dating apps. It's not going to be it's not going to be profitable. It might get you in the newspaper, but you're not gonna win that case, because ultimately we are responsible, right? Ultimately, you can stop using the apps. They're gamified, but there's a lot of things that are gamified in this day and age, and we can look at our own self. What makes it that we're susceptible to games? What makes it that our mindset has it that we think we can always find something easier and better just over the hill on the other piece of grass? But I'll stop now. So yeah, we'll wrap this episode up. If you're looking for more help around this, you can find me on Instagram, often talking about dating and relationships, intimacy, and men and men's work. But until you find me over there, until next week, I'm going to sign off. Ciao, ciao.